One of my favorites joins us on the show today from the NFL Network. You'll love him. And a little bit of Whiteboard Wednesday. USC Trojans helped me out with this one. All Football Takeover Show. Let's go. What is happening, everybody? We're sitting on training camp day. So hopefully when you've seen this, I've already been through one training camp practice, and with all I have to do, I am recording the night before, but hopefully that's okay. Giving you great football stuff, and on today's show, we got a Whiteboard Wednesday featuring USC Trojans, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams. I will normally use a whiteboard, but not on this one because I don't have the whiteboard yet. And trust me, I've wanted to get it, but there's something holding me back. And hopefully by the weekend, it won't be holding me back anymore. But either way, you'll learn a little bit about how USC uses so many aspects to be successful on third down. So we'll have that. Plus, I've got 5 times. Usually it's going to be, 5 minutes of football. Like 5 minutes of funk from Houdini. 5 minutes of funk from Houdini. You remember that song? Well, that's what this is. 5 minutes of football. But it's really good stuff with James Palmer from the NFL Network. He's one of my favorites. He's a good friend of mine. We've known each other for the last 10 to 12 years. It's tremendous stuff. So I'm going to go 5+ minutes of football. Give you about 20 minutes of that interview. What about 40? So I'm trying to figure out what to do with the rest of it. Maybe podcast it and put it over on my website, footballtakeover.com, where you're going to want to go August 1st, where there's going to be plenty of stuff. But either way, James Palmer is going to join us for a significant chunk of time, and that's going to be fun, and that's going to be a show. But got to kick it off with the cover 3, and there's so much happening in football right now. Most of the NFL, but colleges are going to get in the cover 3 today. We're going to start with number 3, and it's training camp updates. So some things happening around the league. Number 1, Kadarius Toney, Kansas City Chiefs. Injured that knee. I guess he had a procedure on it during the offseason. He injured that knee. It looks like he's going to miss significant time in camp, but more than likely be ready for the season. So we'll keep an eye definitely on that one. The running backs, like I said the other day, had their bitch sesh, and they just complained about everything going on. I don't know how much they got done, but one of the guys who apparently was very distraught during that meeting was Jonathan Taylor, the Colts. He apparently has not reported in Indianapolis, according to a couple of reports, and we'll see whether he does report. But if he doesn't report, boy, that is a huge... You saw what that offense was without him last year. Not very good. But one running back decided, you know what, I'm just getting into camp. That's Saquon Barkley. So Saquon Barkley signed a 1-year deal with a little bit of incentives and a little bit over the $10.1 million Susan get by the franchise tag. So he said he didn't want to miss camp. That was one of the things he said he didn't want to do. He said, it's not me. I don't do that. So good on Saquon Barkley. He got into camp. He's going to get paid over $10 million, and we'll see where it goes. But it's a 1-year deal for Saquon. One thing he didn't get in that deal that I would have asked for if I was upset about being franchised, hey, don't franchise tag me a second year. Give me the opportunity to get that long-term deal after this year. I mean, I don't know, that second year franchise tag is pretty good money. It's significant money. So I don't know, maybe you didn't want to lose that opportunity, but that's still in the contract. That is still available for the Giants to tag him at the end of this year, but he's at least in camp. So good for the Giants fans because they got that going on. All right, let's go to number 2. We're going to college football for this one. Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh going to be suspended 4 games. Now, they don't play anybody in those 4 games. Bowling Green, Rutgers, and a couple others. They're not playing anybody. Doesn't matter. So apparently Michigan's negotiating this with the NCAA to get Jim Harbaugh that 4-game suspension for recruiting situations. Sharon Moore apparently has got a 1-game suspension coming up. So Michigan getting their hands slapped, but I don't know if that's going to stop Michigan, especially in those 4 games. They're loaded on both sides of the ball. This is probably the best Michigan team that Jim Harbaugh has had. We'll see if they can beat Ohio State for a 3rd straight year. And Jim Harbaugh will be back for that game, presumably. Only missing the first 4 games of the year. But Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh suspended the first 4 games of the year. It won't matter. Michigan will be 4-0. He'll come back wearing the khakis and be ready to roll after that. All right, number 1, big money signing on the eve of training camp. And that's out in Los Angeles. I got to say, I love that city now, I think. I mean, with my wife and daughter out there, I got to love it, right? But am I Chargers or Rams? I'm neither. I'm Texans. But the Chargers have paid big money to Justin Herbert. 5-year deal. $262.5 million. Million. That's 52, I think, and a half. 52 and a half per. I just did the math in my head, so hopefully I'm right. 52 and a half per APY. Quarterbacks are playing with monopoly money. Monopoly money. And listen, I love Jay Herbo. Love him. Saw him at the Senior Bowl, and that's when I first thought, okay, this can really work. I liked him at Oregon. I know a lot of people didn't. I did. I thought he could do something. The Senior Bowl solidified that for me. 5 years, $262.5 million. He's not won a playoff game. I got him to the playoffs last year. Had a 27-0 lead. Couldn't hang on to it. That said, I don't think Justin Herbert has been the LA Chargers' problem in winning big games lately. Justin Herbert getting paid. Now we'll see if the Bengals follow suit with Joe Burrow. It did look like the two were kind of going to watch each other, like who's going to get what. Now it's done for Herbert. We'll see if it gets done for Burrow. All right, that is your pick 3 for today. All right, because our interview with James, I want that to go a little bit longer, so I'm going to put that at the end. So let's talk a little Whiteboard Wednesday. First third down against Notre Dame in last year's game. USC ran what I thought was one of the more interesting 3rd down and 2 short yardage plays, and it broke wide open. Take a look at this. USC's offense on 3rd down against Notre Dame.
Ready, down. Put.
All right, welcome to Whiteboard Wednesday. This is a good place to start. Whiteboard Wednesday. Typically, I'll be doing it up on a whiteboard, but, got to get the whiteboard to be able to do that. So we'll work on that. But figured this was a good way to look at an excellent 3rd and 2 play for USC against Notre Dame. They took advantage, knowing exactly what Notre Dame was going to be in, man coverage, but they use a lot of window dressing to end up getting Lake McCree, the tight end right here, number 87, wide open out in the flat. And show you how you do that. First, they're going to start here with a zone fake to Austin Jones. You see how he starts, number 6. He starts with the fake right here. Now, it's obviously ball's not going to him. He knows that. But in doing so, he's going to hold number 24 right there. So that's a good place to start. You're going to hold 24, see if you catch him undisciplined. You're also going to focus on a linebacker here. Maybe you catch him being undisciplined, or the backside guy, number 8 right here. One of those 3 guys you're hoping is going to be undisciplined because they're playing man coverage across the board. So you're matched up out wide, you're matched up here, and you got the free safety playing one in the middle, playing free in the middle, cover 1. So you first give him some eye candy with the fake to Jones. Then you're bringing Jordan Addison around here. Okay? So now you give him ball fake here. Now I want you to watch once Caleb Williams gives the ball fake right there, watch these 2 linebackers here. They're completely clueless. They do not know what to do. One's going one way. Now they're going back with Addison the other way. And now you're seeing this thing develop. McCree, 87, does a little slam. I love this. Slam and release. I think that's one of the toughest things for a defense. And now there's McCree popping out. Get a little pressure, but it doesn't really matter because all Williams has got to do is float that thing out there. And McCree's making a catch. What a great call on 3rd down to go get 2 yards and then some to get your athletic tight end, Lake McCree. You're going to see Jones start to the left there with a zone fake. Addison coming around. Williams is going to boot out. Slam release by McCree. And these linebackers right there, 27 right there, he doesn't know where he's going. He's going back and forth. That defensive back is key because he's going to go with Addison in man coverage. So this was a great job of USC using the coaching staff and knowing what the Notre Dame coaching staff was going to call in a 3rd and short situation. One of the first, I think it's the first 3rd down of the game. They did an excellent job right here with this play. I loved everything about how that play was constructed. Everything. Just fantastic. Okay, let's get to my buddy James Palmer. He's one of the best you're going to find. He can do anything and everything. And back in 2012, I think it's when I first met him, I did a draft series with James, and it ended up winning an Emmy. And James put a ton of work into it. I was on there along with John McClain. I can't remember if there's a 3rd person in there, but either way, it was great stuff. And James and I have known each other for a long time. He's now with the NFL Network. He's versatile. He is tremendous. He can put him on Good Morning Football just as much as you could have him do sideline reports. I mean, he does everything for the network, and he is great. And here it's 5 minutes plus of football with James Palmer and me. Let's go.
Man, I can't tell you how pleased I am to have one of my good friends. We go back to 2013, all the way back, maybe even before that, 2012. Man, when he was at CSN Houston, now he's a superstar on NFL Network. And I do not say, look, a lot of things I say in jest. I'm that kind of guy, but I don't when it comes to James Palmer. This guy is an absolute superstar on NFL Network, knows his stuff. He's always around, and I always love a chance to catch up with him. And he joins me here for 5+ minutes of football right here on the YouTube Takeover Show. James, my friend, how are you, buddy? One day before camp, good. Day of camp. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm rested, spent a couple days in the mountains, relaxed a little bit. And now we go, man. I already got like a half dozen stops on the list, and Houston's one of them. Let's go. We're starting up this week.
Okay. Give me the stops. So Houston's one. I know Denver's got to be one because that's your home.
Yeah. I'm starting in Denver. Got Houston, Philly, who I spent more time with than anybody last year, actually. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, KC. I think I'm getting out to Cincinnati at some point. And then I have one that I really want to go to. And I'm curious if you have this similar vibe. I really want to get to Atlanta. I want to see what they're doing offensively, right? I think the world of art. I think he is a great offensive mind. I'm just like, you look at how they're built. It's just, he runs an offense different than anybody else in football. He values positions that other really guys don't value. You've seen him dominate with Derrick Henry and an okay quarterback before. Now, what does Desmond Ridder look like? Where do they put Jonnu Smith? Where do they put Kyle Pitts? Where do they put Drake London? Oh, Bijan Robinson is there, which I've heard unbelievable things here in the draft process that Art wants to do with him. And you also have other backs. I'm just curious, where does he want to put everybody, Johnny? And how does he want to put defenses in a bind? Because I think he can stay in 12 all day and just be like, all right, which matchup works for us?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things about that, James, is the fact that they're 12. If you go by, Kyle Pitts is a tight end.
Exactly.
Their 12 is actually 11, where their 11 can be a 12. It can be really interesting. And with Bijan, is a running back? Is he a slot? But there's been all this
talk. They're going to put him against. He's going to be lined up against linebackers nonstop because of the other skill guys, and he's just going to blow them out. He's going to create so much separation. I'm just curious how easy Art may make life on Desmond Ridder, to succeed. I think that's a really fascinating spot for me. And they finally got talent on defense. Dean Pease might come out of retirement, might be calling and being like, hey, I didn't have these guys.
Getting Jesse Bates. I'm a huge Jesse Bates fan.
I got Jesse Bates stories.
I think that's a huge addition. Yeah.
He's phenomenal. Yeah. And then up front, they revamped the front. Terrell's one of the most underrated corners in football. It's an interesting group.
Yep. We got to face them October, I think. It's my last building to go to in the league. I've been to every one of them, but that one. So
I'm assuming it's a Sunday, right? That game's played on a Sunday. It's not a Thursday, or else their Chick-fil-A would be open in the building.
Well, that's true. You could listen Sunday at 1 Eastern or 12 noon Central, and you pretty much have it for the Texans this year. Yeah. You've got that lick. Now next year, that's a different story. But this year, you talked about going to being with Philadelphia last year for a while, and I know you spent some time with the Chiefs. So we'll talk about the Chiefs in a little bit, but. James, from afar, one of the things that I took out of that Eagles season, obviously they're mega talented. I don't think there's any question about the talent in Philly. But I feel like Jalen Hurts walked to the front of the room and said, follow me. And he did it without being so demonstrative about it. And I felt like there was a great shot in the Super Bowl where it showed how much respect he gets from everybody. And there was a point where they did a review on a 3rd or a 4th down, and you see Nick Sirianni just do the whole, first down. And you see Jalen Hurts kind of grab his arm and put it down like, coach, calm down. Yeah. How much is Jalen Hurts? How much has he become the leader of that organization and offense and just everything about that city and that team?
Yeah. Real quick, I want to mention something outside of that city. When you mentioned the respect that he's gained outside of Philadelphia, outside of the building, I hosted the NFL 101 Awards this offseason in Kansas City. It started by Lamar Hunt. It's one of the oldest award shows out there, right? It's AFC, NFC, Players of the Year, Defense Players of the Year, one for each conference, Coach of the Year. And I was on stage interviewing each person. Jalen Hurts won NFC Offensive Player of the Year, obviously, right? Runner-up in the MVP. This is a week after the Super Bowl, 10 days after the Super Bowl in Kansas City. The whole 1,000 people that I'm talking to in this day, that are in black tie, are from Kansas City. And Jalen Hurts comes up to accept his award, and he got like a 2.5-minute standing ovation.
Wow.
I mean, if that doesn't show like the utmost respect that the opposing fan base had, and Andy Reid, when I was talking to him, because he was up there for the Super Bowl winning champion, they get crowned as well. Andy stopped me in the middle of our interview. He said, I just want to say something real quick in front of this crowd. Jalen, that's the greatest performance I've ever seen by a quarterback. Like, to me, like that's when you're like a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid that you went against in the Super Bowl, and he had there's an argument to be made, Johnny, like the greatest quarterback performance in a Super Bowl ever. Yep. Like it's really close. You can make the argument. So that's what's happened in this 1 year. When I was in Philly for the draft last season, and everybody's going, look at all this capital Howie has. He can find out if Jalen's the guy, and if not, he can be in the quarterback sweepstakes next season because he had all those ones. He made that trade with New Orleans, and that's how far we came in less than a year. It's unbelievable what he does and how he carries himself and the work ethic he does. He does something that I don't know too many quarterbacks do on Tuesday when the coaches are kind of putting together roughly what they want to have together when Wednesday's practice goes, and this is our game plan, right? Wednesday's when the league starts, essentially, right? That's when we're installing everything. He sneaks into the coaches' meetings on Tuesday, so he has a jump on what they're going to be doing offensively come the start of the install. So like he's back there just like in the room with them. And I don't know how many quarterbacks do this, like sit in the room on Tuesday just to kind of see what the coaches are going over so they can get a jump on it. His growth each year, I have a lot of questions on whether he's going to be better or take a step back. The talent's the same, pretty much, almost identical. And the play caller changed. That's the two things that I see different. And the play caller is a guy he's known since he was 4. So
right.
It's not that much outside the box. I will say this. Shane Steichen, it's not a complicated offense, called that offense so well. Like the way he mixed it up, the spots that he picked, we'll see if that changes. But I think Jalen he gets compared to Michael Jordan by his head coach. Now that might be a moment where he's taking Nick's hand and putting it down again and going like, hey, coach, pump the brakes. But like Nick does not shy away from saying like, he is that type of person you follow. And I mean, the stuff he says, I tell my son, like he's like Nostradamus. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Jalen is one of those players that, I mean, from Channelview, Texas, just outside of Houston, Texas means a lot to him. I mean, he's wearing an Astros hat. He's wearing an Astros hat sitting in front of the Philadelphia media. And I'm like, he's going to get hammered, and nobody really said anything because he just seemingly has that sort of respect amongst everybody in Philly.
Yeah, he does. He nobody can do that, honestly. And you look at, I mean, nothing against Carson Wentz, but look at the flip from one player to the next player. And I'm curious for your take because, like, I went to his pro day at Oklahoma. I covered that. I heard what everybody was saying about him. My thought on Jalen Hurts, full transparency, was I think this guy is going to be valuable to whatever team drafts him, and he can win you football games. Is he going to be a franchise quarterback? I didn't have anybody tell me that. And that he'd be runner-up for the MVP. I didn't have anybody think that was it. I thought he could like win you a stretch of games if your starter went out, John. Like that's what I thought. And we were all proven wrong. And I think it's because of the way he's wired. Like he's wired to win at all costs. And I think the biggest tell to me, because everybody's like, I mean, I was at like more than, like I said, half their games probably. Yeah. He had the highest passer rating, best interception to touchdown ratio in the pocket of anybody in the football. Like you could have said he was the best pocket passer in the league last year. And nobody was saying that when he was coming out.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing about him that really kind of held me back, James, was I didn't know he could make the layered throws consistently. Like I felt like in most college quarterbacks can come to the NFL and do well outside the numbers, throw to a spot outside the numbers, you get man coverage, you throw it out there, or maybe a whole shot against cover 2. Okay. But I remember, I think it was his last game in college. He played LSU in a game that Justin Jefferson just went off, and you're comparing Jalen Hurts to Joe Burrow, and you're like, wait a second, those are two different guys playing the position.
Hey, by the way, Joe's an animal.
Yeah, I know. And we're learning now. But even in that game, you're like, man, Jalen just, it's slow. It's taken a while. But the one thing I held on to was the fact that, you know what? When he got to Alabama, he didn't throw it well. It was a great threat on the ground. But he really worked with the quarterback's coach there, and he got better. He got better throwing the football. He worked at it. And I thought, you know what? That guy's got the work ethic. I think he's going to be one of the rare guys that gets better every week throwing the football. I won't bet against him. I don't love him coming out of the draft to be a guy right away. But I got a feeling down the road there's going to be an impact. I never saw this. I never saw this. In fact, I would imagine the only person that saw this was Averian, his dad, Averian the second, his brother, his mom, and him. That was it. Everybody else was just like, man, if we get anything out of Jalen Hurts, this is going to be gravy. And 3 years later, they're talking about this, giving him, money. Nicole Lynn did a job this summer, but she went out and got him big money, and money that I don't think anybody anywhere went, oh, they're giving him that. No, I think everybody across the league in media was like, oh yeah, he deserves every dime of that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And the wild part is to be so certain with such a small sample size of success.
Yeah.
But he did kind of prove it to you in the way he played. But they gave him that money because if you'd ask Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, Howie Roseman, GM, Nick Sirianni, head coach, all three of them will tell you emphatically, we have no idea what his ceiling is, and he's nowhere near it yet.
Yeah.
Like that's the way they really believe about Jalen, which is kind of scary in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a thrower of the football like, say, Pat is or some of these other guys, but he can hurt you so many different ways. And I had defensive coordinators tell me this. They're like, again, like I said earlier, it's not complicated, but you're always on your heels because even if it's not like a read option play, the thought of him keeping it on his own and running the other side is there every play. So you can't crash him like crazy. And he has maybe the best offensive line in football.
Yeah, he's got that.
he's got like a top 5 tight end.
Yeah.
I'd probably say, I mean, you can make an argument, Dallas. People around the league think he's a top maybe 3 guy, which is crazy.
You
AJ Brown.
You convinced me of that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and like a stable of backs. Like he's got everything at his disposal to set him up to succeed. But at the same time, he still has to make the plays. And I was there for games where he ran for 150, 200 yards against Green Bay. He ran for like 150 yards. And then the next day he throws for 400 and barely runs it. Like their red zone, I think it's what they spend more time on than anything else. Maybe more than most teams I've been around, the amount of time they spend on their red zone offense. I don't know how you defend them in the red zone. Like it's even short red zone too. Because like if they want to run 2 quarterback sneaks back to back from the 4, they're in.
Yep.
They can just hurt you so many ways. And it's just, I don't know how you defend them, really. Yeah. They just have, as one DC put it to me, he's like, they just got dudes like everywhere.
Yeah.
And they do.
The other team that's got dudes like that, and you talk about a quarterback reaching his ceiling, I think what's scary is to watch a guy that in 5 years as a starter, he's gone to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 Super Bowls. He's played every playoff game at home. He has won, he's just done everything. And I'm scared because I think that Patrick Mahomes is nowhere near his ceiling, James. I don't think he's anywhere close to it. And you know what I took? There's so much you could take out of the quarterback documentary. And when you brought up the Tuesday where Jalen Hurts is there, I couldn't help but think about Kirk Cousins taking Tuesday completely off, which I don't have an issue with whatsoever.
No.
But I just know that Jalen Hurts.
Man, those hits, if I was Kirk, I'd be taking the whole week off until Sunday.
Incredible.
Physically.
But what I learned about watching Patrick is he's learning the game and seeing it through Andy's eyes, but he's seeing it through Andy's eyes, how he can play it, which, there are a lot of coaches that see the game one way and they want their quarterback to be that way, but the quarterback isn't wired to play that way.
Yeah.
I think Patrick knows how he plays the game. And I think he and Andy for years have been, okay, how do we make this a marriage that works and what I want to do and what we want to do? And now they're both on the same page. And now Patrick's reading defenses the way he's doing it. James, I'm scared that Patrick Mahomes is nowhere near his ceiling, and he's already got 2 championships.
Yeah, 2 championships, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. We were having an argument out in LA the other day. Like, if he retired now, is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Like, you could, just to say you can make that argument, it shows you where he's at after this brief time. A few things real quick. One, I think you're spot on. I think that's a testament to Andy, to understanding his quarterback and his quarterback skill set. Yeah. It's an advantage that Kansas City has that I don't think is talked about enough, is their continuity within their offensive staff. I know they just lost Eric Bieniemy, but like the last couple of years, it was getting to the point to where he was like, Greg Lewis, you're the receivers coach for the last 4 years. Now you're running back coach.
Right.
Like guys were moving positions. And I don't know what that does for your offense, but I would think it would make things like so much easier just because everybody knows it. So, oh yeah, the enemy leaves, Nagy's back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so the other part that goes along with Andy and the consistency of the staff is Pat's like a football like historian. And that's the way he's wired. So I love that you said like he loves learning and understanding the game because he knows everybody like before him, how they played it, how they've done it. He studies all these things. Like he looks at it like kind of like really from a big picture down to the most minute parts because he has just such a respect for the game and the understanding of the game. And to me, when I was told something Super Bowl week, when I was on the Chiefs all week, and towards the end of the week, I was talking to somebody and they were like, you know, he calls the wrong protections for he makes all the calls at the line of scrimmage for the offensive line. A lot of teams, right? Center does it sometimes in some buildings. Yeah. He makes all the calls for the Chiefs. He'll call the wrong protection for them, John, on purpose. Because he's that like the way it was put to me, like it's like chess. He's that many steps ahead. He goes, if I see what the defensive front's doing, I'm going to call this for my O-line to do this. So everybody within the tackle box is thinking that it's something. And I'm going to improvise off of it and I'm going to roll it this way. And I know this guy's going to be, and he doesn't even tell the offensive line. Like when I was told that, I was like, it is no longer just the physical gifts are beyond, you know, what we've seen before. His mental side of playing the game now is insane. So like I went and talked to some of the offensive linemen about it once I heard it. And I remember Andrew Wiley being like, dude, sometimes it happens in our meeting. And he'll be like, I'm going to call this. And we're all like, what? And he's like, just do it. And then we all like, in like 5 minutes, Wiley's like 5 minutes later, we're all like in the meeting, like, oh, okay, that's what he wants. He's so far ahead of everybody in what he sees in terms of setting things up and knowing how he can play the game differently. You're right. I don't think we're anywhere near what we're going to see. He's had a lot of advantages. I am a big person upon your fit and your situation are more important in the NFL than any other sport.
Huge.
I think that's everything. Back to Philly, they're so great at doing that. Like, right? Like, oh, let's just draft Cam Jurgens, who's a great center, even though we have an all-pro center. Oh, what do you mean? You guys don't need him? No, he's going to sit for 2 years and learn from Jason Kelsey. Like, what a situation Cam Jurgens is in to succeed. Pat's in a great situation to succeed with Andy, with sitting for a year behind Alex Smith, having a tight end, the greatest receiving tight end, in my opinion. I'll say receiving because I think Gronk's the best complete tight end of all time. That's just my opinion. Gronk could block like a monster.
Yeah.
And have a relationship with him and having Tyreek early in his career where he could just throw it into space and Tyreek, like everything kind of helped him come along. I'm not saying he hasn't put in the work and he doesn't have the talent. That just made all of it happen so quickly, I think.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, he's just unreal. What they run in Texas, what he runs in Texas, there's another cheat code that Andy found. Like, we're going to be virtual.
Yep.
Pat's going to run essentially phase one where they can do more than if they were here.
Yep.
Working out. It's unreal what he does for them. And I've heard that has gone like next level stuff down there. Like that he's teaching. It's not throwing sessions.
That dude's fantastic. Can't wait to see him on Sunday right here in H-Town. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, let's go.